and college lecturers have just started picketing outside East Sussex College in a row over pay. Staff at the college are striking today, saying they earn on average £7,000 a year less than school teachers. Staff at the college's 4 campuses, Eastbourne, Hastings, Lewes and New Haven, are involved. There's not expected to be too much impact on students, though. We'll hear from the college in just a second, but our reporter Steve Dale is with the picket line in Hastings and joins us now.
Morning to Neil. I'm a few hundred yards down the road from the picket line, unfortunately due to parking issues at the college, but I understand a small line of 10 or 15 staff have formed a picket line. As you say, they claim that on average college lecturers earn £7,000 a year less than school teachers, and they're obviously concerned about the challenges to their monthly wage packets, as well as the challenge of attracting quality new staff. Now with me is Justin Wynne. Justin teaches history at the college just up the road from me, is also the University College Union of Lecturers Branch Secretary. Morning to you, Justin.
Good morning, thank you.
Why are you striking today?
We're striking for a number of reasons, but primarily it is around pay. For the last 10 years, we've seen 0% increase in our salary in comparison to some of the senior leaders within FE receiving pay well in excess of over 15%. And at this point now, it's come to crunch time for many of our members that if we don't stand up and ask and demand a better salary and a better pay, many of them will end up leaving the sector, having to take second jobs, or even result into food banks at some stage.
We understand from the college they're going to try and plug the gap, and lessons are still going ahead as planned, but inevitably not having your regular teacher there, you've got a supply person coming in or somebody picking up the slack. Inevitably this does impact on students. Do you not have some obligation to make your points in some way other than industrial action?
We obviously are aware this is going to impact students, and we're disappointed in that, and we did go into negotiations with college management to avoid this strike, and unfortunately that resulted in nothing. We asked students to understand our issues. Many of them actually support us, and some of them are, I believe, planning to join us in demonstration for better pay for their teachers.
2 days of strike action. You've got other colleges up and down the country striking, trying to put pressure on the Secretary of State to try and plug that gap. What would you like to hear from the government?
What I'd like to hear from the government is a promise to properly fund further education, which has been known as the Cinderella sector for so long now, to equal, if not higher levels than it had ever been done before. Since 2010, we've seen massive reduction in per head student funding, which has resulted in job losses, quality of education going down due to higher class numbers. This is ultimately, yes, top down from the government. They need to put more money in.
Well, one thing I will say for these hardened strikers, Neil, it is really, really bitter. You were talking about your extremities. I'm struggling to hold the microphone, so if nothing, they are absolutely committed to their cause, standing out in this freezing weather.
Steve, thanks very much indeed. Well, let's talk to Dan Shelley, who's the Executive Director of the East Sussex College Group. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Neil. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How can it be right that college lecturers earn less than teachers?
Well, that's a very good question. I think overall the FE sector, as Justin just mentioned, has suffered the most in terms of austerity. We've lost 25% of our funding since 2010, and obviously that then severely affects the ability for us to make pay awards. If you look at the school sector, like us, they've had frozen pay packets since 2010, but they were given additional funding by the government in autumn of 2018 to support a pay increase for school staff. That extra money, for example, wasn't made available to FE colleges. So there's a disparity between the different education parts of our section.
Right. Okay. We heard Justin there talking. It seems to be one rule for the bosses and one rule for the lecturers. How much has your pay gone up in the last 10 years?
I've only been in the sector for 7, so I wouldn't.
Okay.
Want to comment.
How much has your pay gone up in the last 7 years then?
A couple of percentage points.
Right.
Through incremental drift.
Okay. So you've got a 2%, but they've got nothing.
Well, that's not quite true. all of our staff are on salary bands, so they can move up incrementally over that period of time until they reach the top of their band, like most other employees within the FE sector. So most of our staff will have received an incremental increase over that period of time, and in fact, both of the colleges, Sussex Downs and Sussex Coast, have awarded pay awards within that period of time as well. Only 1%, but equally the incrementals are more than 1% of people's pay.
Sure. I just wanted to get your take on Justin Wynn's suggestion that bosses at the college have had pay increases when lecturers haven't. Is that not true then?
That's not true, no. There have been some changes in the way in which the management have been structured due to merger.
What does that mean?
Well, in terms of the way in which the senior management team is paid, that is commercially sensitive, but also on commercial levels that are appropriate within the sector.
Okay, I'm not overwhelmingly convinced by that answer. Just give me an idea. Do you suggest that students will be unaffected by the action today? How serious will this all be on their education? Just give us a thought on that.
Well, UCU represents around 10% of our workforce, so the strike will have very limited impact on our students. And we've communicated to all of our students and their parents, carers, that are due in today or tomorrow to come into college, obviously weather permitting tomorrow. We have had to make some special arrangements for a very small number of classes, and their parents and carers, along with the students involved, have been informed of those arrangements. Ultimately, we've moved with some contingencies to place minimal impact upon our students. And I think one thing that I'd like to finally say is that actually there is a way of us working better together, and we would prefer to work together with our unions to call for fairer funding across the sector, and particularly given that the comprehensive spending review is due in autumn 2019, that provides us a golden opportunity to ask for more money in terms of the sector that can then help both students and staff pay issues across the college sector.
Okay, thanks very much indeed for coming on there. It's Dan Shelley from East Sussex College, and it's 8:29.